Style Podcast. Hey, beautiful soul, and welcome to the Sacred Style Podcast, a safe space where we get real and go deep to explore the intersection of modern spirituality, entrepreneurship, identity, and purpose. Hosted by intuitive artist and entrepreneur Daniela West, join us as we explore the transformational journey of becoming more fully you, whole, healed, and human. Hey there, and welcome to the Sacred Style Podcast. In today's episode, I'm super excited for a guest speaker. We are going to be speaking about the transformational journey of pivoting from corporate burnout to CEO of a soul-aligned business. This is very exciting. To expand more on this, I'm speaking with Anvita Jain, a career transition coach who empowers burnout, high-achieving women to rise from corporate leader to CEO of a soul-aligned business. Anvita utilizes her expertise in navigating 4 career pivots over the last decade, putting words to people's deeper challenges and road mapping to guide women on a clear, impact-driven path forward that centers their wellness, passions, and purpose. So, Anvita, super excited to have you. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm super excited to chat today and about this topic. I think it's a question that's on a lot of people's minds today, as there's so many options available for career paths. And I'm just happy to shed more light as to what that can look like.
Yes. I'm super excited to hear more about your experience, your wisdom, your tips for, this wild world that we're living in. I can imagine there are a lot of people navigating a lot of uncertainty and questions about their path, their purpose. The work industry as a whole is going through so many rapid shifts. So I'm really excited to have you. And I know it's going to be a very juicy conversation.
Yes, I think this is a very, like you said, it's a collective shift that's happening. I know a lot of people probably agree with me when I say forging a career path, let alone corporate or not, feels like the wild west right now. The world feels like the wild west right now. And I think there's this story that sometimes there's a story perpetuated in the collective that change is wrong. Or it's very often internalized, I find, among clients, is like, I am wrong. I have experienced this myself, where I internalize changes happening in my external environment as my fault. And I think that would be a big thing to talk about. Is a lot of my journey has been around shifting my relationship to change and continuously shifting my relationship to change. It almost sounds ironic because it's like changing my relationship to change. But that is really what it comes down to, is change is becoming more and more normal. So pivoting is becoming a key skill. It's becoming a money skill at this point. The ability to pivot when things come up without making it about yourself. I think that is the big thing that I'm finding, because in fear, the voice of fear can often say that, oh my God, change. That's the way our nervous system is programmed, is that change equals we are in danger. But the truth is that most changes in our environment are not life-threatening changes. They may be challenging, they may require different thinking, et cetera, but they're not truly life-threatening. So I think that's the key distinguisher first, is that I would say only 1% of the actual changes that happen in your life are even potentially life-threatening. But knowing how your nervous system works helps kind of clarify, okay, if I'm, for example, if something comes up at work, I know a lot of people probably experience that, like something comes up at work that might feel like a fire at work. Realize that you're feeling like you may be internalizing that fire because your nervous system thinks it's life-threatening, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's life-threatening. There are usually options out in most cases. Now, I'm not talking about survival means, right? So I completely understand. I just saw 11:11. I don't know if you guys believe in angels.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I just looked up and saw it on my laptop as I was saying that. But that would be the first thing I think that I can pull that thread further is changing your relationship to change.
Changing your relationship to change. I love that. I love that perspective. I think change, you've probably heard the phrase, the only constant in life is change. I don't know who coined it, but it's always
Yeah.
stuck with me. It's always stuck with me. And one of the things that I wish people would teach, in society, like, I don't know, elementary school, middle school, I wish that we were taught more of the skills needed to embrace change and adapt to external change as well. I'm super curious about your journey in particular that led you into this type of work and led you into this type of change growth mindset. How did you get here with us today?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was, and I think again, this is probably another relatable experience is you're asked, when you're 5 years, what do you want to be when you grow up? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, as a kid, I had so many different answers. I think my answer probably changed every week. I remember the most vivid answer I remember is being a spy. But I didn't think about think about that. I share that answer to say like I lived in a world of possibility when I was a kid. That is what like it didn't bother me that my answer changed every week. That wasn't even a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that goes to show is that as I grew up, what I saw around me was people just staying in one career path their entire life. It was pretty rare to see someone who had just embraced like change in their career path, really, like on a broader level and tried doing different things. That wasn't a very common experience. And we were talking about this concept of a multi-passionate career path, which is basically a career path that combines multiple passions rather than just being one path. And for some people, that one path is works. But for a lot of people, they might find that they're misaligned with trying to squeeze themselves in or their purpose in or just water it down to one path for their entire life. That's a lot of pressure
Yeah.
for an entire life. So I felt that same pressure when I tried to squeeze myself into one path. So I kind of tried to distill myself into the path that I saw that offered security around me, which was engineering. And, that was what I studied in college. That's where I started. And lo and behold, that was not my fit. And while I pursued other interests, they felt sidelined. And I kind
Mm-hmm.
of sidelined my passions. And that was the worst thing I could have done because I truly believe that one's passions are like the gateway to how we're supposed to bring about our purpose into the world. Like our passions aren't just interests, and there's nothing wrong with just exploring them however you explore them. But I believe there's a deeper purpose to our passions. They're not
Mm-hmm.
just given to us by accident, they're kind of God given gifts. There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason. They're like little breadcrumbs, like you're following a trail. And so sidelining them was I was doing a disservice to my path in the world and how I meant to impact people. So that's what I found is that's what I kind of did multiple career pivots throughout my 20s, just trying to find the path. And the pressure of that, like the path, was the issue because there was nothing wrong with the path I was taking. There was nothing wrong with switching in the first place. So I kept making every career change unless it was the one wrong.
Hmm.
And I finally came to a point where I forget. I think I was just exposed to more people doing different things, especially particularly entrepreneurs. I found that there was a little more adaptability I found in the entrepreneurial world because business owners had the freedom to make their business what they wanted to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Versus corporate came with a little bit more of a structure, a predetermined structure, not maybe the person structure. And so that's where I found like, oh, I can combine multiple passions into a path. Then I started working. So I used to be in human resources before I came into the coaching world. And then I started working with, oh, wait, I kind of started taking ownership more of my path. Even within the corporate structure, I do feel like there is a lot more ability to take ownership of one's career. It just takes a mindset shift and then a body shift. I think that was the other piece that's often missing from corporate is the somatic piece, getting your body on board, getting your subconscious on board.
Oh, I love that.
That's how I came into this work, is like career pivoting as a way to more as a tool to live a multi-passionate career path if that's what you want to choose. Because there
Yeah.
isn't that many people out there. I was fortunate, I found, but it took me a while. What if we could get there people faster? What if I could be talking to like high school kids
Mhm.
younger and encourage it from when that energy is fresh? Imagine if you have people, because if they see their parents following a multi-passionate career path as kids, then it opens a whole new world. And I think that's the beautiful thing that is emerging right now. That is the big opportunity, is there's more people following multi-passionate career paths now. It's a lot more
Mm.
normalized. It's going to become lot more normalized with AI and all the changes happening. Like, it's going to
Yeah.
be required at
Yeah.
some point to be able to adapt, even within one career path, right? Even if you are an engineer, doctor, lawyer, you're going to need to learn new skill sets. You're going to need to adapt. So let's talk about pivoting now, because pivoting
Yeah.
is an essential skill now.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, you made so many good points there. I think the first one that stood out to me is the trend that you are noticing now in terms of, even if you're sticking within the same career field, the same path, with the rapid rate of technology evolving and AI coming in and all sorts of new skills and platforms being introduced to us. Yeah, even if you're going to be an engineer the rest of your life, let's say, and that is your calling and that is your passion, there are still going to be new changes thrown your way in the same field. So I do think you made a really good point. It's like, it doesn't even matter what path you're on, the pivoting will need to occur at some point, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. You're going to, I think that was the thing that really got me into this work, is I believe that some part of life is always in transition.
Mm-hmm.
It's just constant. You're never going to be at a point where you're not transitioning in at least one place. I find that because I um grow, I essentially everything is tied to my identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every part of my life. And so if I'm going through a shift in one place, chances are I'm going through an identity shift of some kind or not. And
Yeah.
so it will start trickling. It will definitely impact the other areas of my life. There's no way, everything is intertwined. I don't really believe that things are just compartmentalized. And that was partially why I took a career lens, is
Mm-hmm.
because your career is a foundational pillar of your life. You know,
Yes.
I've definitely met people who do try to compartmentalize it, whether that's as a coping mechanism or just the way they learn to function. But I'm like, what if you didn't have to do that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What if
Yeah.
you do that?
What if you didn't have to do that? Yeah, completely. And I'm also thinking of, you mentioned soul gifts. You mentioned this concept of following the passion. And in my mind, it's like, yes, I say the same thing, following these breadcrumbs of curiosity, following this feeling of like, ooh, when I do this activity, I get energy. Like this lights me up. I've definitely been on that journey the last few years myself, diving into entrepreneurship. It was like I place so much of my identity on one label, one category of the type of work that I'm doing at all times. I relate so much to what you're saying about compartmentalizing work. And I find that, I think, at least in Western society, there's that's definitely a message that I think we get subconsciously, as like, you can only be defined by this one thing that you do. You know, at least in the US, the biggest question that, like, my biggest pet peeve of a question whenever I would meet people, can you guess? It's, what do
What do
you
you,
do?
yeah. What do you do for work, right? That's a
Yeah.
question that a lot of people lead with in the US,
Mhm.
other Western countries. And I think it's trickling around the world.
Mhm.
My parents are from India. I have relatives in India. I hear about it there too.
Mhm.
Like, that's the eastern side, that's the other side of the world. So
Yeah.
I think there's also a collective, like, world kind of trend happening towards hyper work. And it's going to come at some kind of a breaking point. Everything
Yeah.
does. right? There's always nature is going to counterbalance. And I think that's the beautiful thing that is really cool about being in the entrepreneurial space where you and I are connecting with like healers and leaders, healers who are becoming leaders. That's,
Yeah.
I think, the cool thing is me and you play in that space. And
Yeah.
what I've noticed from taking on this entrepreneurial journey and connecting to more of those people, it's honestly given me more optimism because there's always two sides to every coin. Nature always has, it's like a dual nature. And I think, um, yes, you can look outside and see all the wild, wild west. And also, out of that opportunity, again, change, goes back to like change is also opportunity.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
That's why change happens. That's why Mother Nature pushes you to change. It's like it's almost realizing like the primal nature of change is evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we wouldn't evolve without change. We just wouldn't.
Yeah.
So there's a very like primal purpose to change. And I think the more I lean into that and remember like, oh, this is like natural, almost natural. And so seeing two sides of this, remembering that they're two sides of the same coin, and then being willing to look at the other side and being willing to embrace it. A lot of my misery also came from just an identity of victimhood and just choosing to only focus on the external, on the bad, because focusing internally, focusing on the good, being able to acknowledge that takes a higher level of responsibility, higher level of ownership. And then it also requires personal change, right? So then we talk about the, internal, external mirrors. I can talk, a whole episode probably just about that topic. But that's kind of what I actually lost where we began with this thread. But I think that really helps me stay grounded in change, is realizing like there's a natural purpose to change and we're meant to change to evolve.
Yes. Yes, I completely agree. And as you're talking about change, it made me think about, you mentioned nature, you mentioned change. It made me think about the seasons. And as I've been on my evolution, journey of being human, I really have noticed that my phases of change really reflect the phases of nature. I've got my winter period, which could kind of be considered like a dark night of the soul every time I enter my hibernation, my hermit phase. But I find I'm getting more gratitude each time I enter sort of this winter period, because it's a great opportunity to go inward and to clear space. Basically, I find it so important. And you mentioned career as foundation as well. It's like you can't really build off of any foundation if it's completely cluttered with stuff that's dragging it down all the time and preventing that expansion.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And
I'd love to ask you, what helps you align with your seasons, like, and just embrace them? You mentioned a lot about being able to like embrace that and the purpose of that. So I'd love to hear more about, for our listeners too, is how do you embrace your seasons?
I love that question. I think for me, astrology has actually been a really huge part of my journey of evolution, my own understanding of self, and a tool that I use to empower my clients. And so learning about astrology has also taught me so much about, let's say, the moon phases, which is also very much nature's, these seasons of nature as well. So I think just the more awareness that I gained about the natural cycles of nature and what those actually represent symbolically. For example, you think of autumn. It's a time for shedding. It's a time for pruning, certain habits or certain even pieces of clothing, or certain connections that are not feeling great anymore. They're not providing an uplifting, expansive feeling. So, thinking about the death and rebirth phases that also occur within every single month, every moon cycle, I found a lot of parallels between that and between, the four seasons of nature. So before discovering anything about that, from a more spiritual lens, I was really hard on myself, really, really hard on myself in terms of when I did want to create a change or when I would feel frustration for the state of my life, for feeling stagnant. Because I have felt stagnant so many times throughout my life already. And
Yes.
it
Yes.
used to,
Stagnancy is I'd love to pull on that thread a little bit because I was just
yeah,
thinking about this the other day. Kind of I was talking about as you were talking, especially with the feeling part when you said like,
yeah,
oh, I would, feel wrong almost for
mm,
feeling like frustration or frustration, rage, these feelings, right? Because there's a lot of these feelings in the collective. And a lot
mhm,
of why I take a somatic approach to this work, right? A lot of what you'll see in career development it's very mind, it's very just here and it stops there and that's it. Or it focuses on the external or forcing or hustling more. And it
mhm,
forgets the body, it forgets the subconscious, it forgets nature, a lot of that. And so there's feelings. Feelings are a huge part, both for men and women, by the way. I want to say and people who are non-gender conforming. It's for everyone. It's an energetic, right? This really one thing we've lost in this collective is a healthy relationship to emotion and
yes.
energy. Emotion is essentially energy that's wanting to move, right?
Mhm,
Again, this thing of like change being constant, energy is constantly moving. There's a movement that wants and nature moves. We don't stay. That's why stagnancy can feel uncomfortable,
yeah.
is because energy wants to move. That's physical energy through our bodies. That is the seasons, right? Like even a good thing, right? I think sometimes when we reach a destination or we reach a goal, there's part of us that's like, oh, I'm done. Cool. But then lo and behold, at some point, you're gonna want something more, right? There's gonna be
Yeah.
another desire. So going back to the feelings, there's also been a story in the collective. I feel like that's internalized for a lot of children is feelings are wrong. I am wrong for having feelings. Feelings are wrong. But the thing is, humans don't consciously decide how they feel. It's
Mhm,
usually based in the energy that wants to either move through them or out of them. So it's
yeah.
either like an felt sensation from the past, or it's a sensation that just like naturally wants to just move through. That's all emotion is. So it just exists. It's not
Yeah.
right or wrong. It's not like, oh, you get frustrated due to this. That's like you choosing to be frustrated. I would say the choice is how to relate to the emotion, but the emotion itself is not a choice. Even if you're angry, I'm trying to think of some of the emotions that tend to have the bad rap. Sad.
Mm,
There's nothing
depressing.
wrong with you. Yeah, exactly. Like there's nothing wrong with those emotions. It's just the emotion that's moving through you. The
Yeah.
choice is actually in how you move with the emotion, how you relate to the emotion, how you ride the wave. I have a coach right now, Meg Zeke, who likes Meg Zeke and Jasmine Mara. They, like to say it's how you ride the wave. So I want to offer that to the audience because that is more it's more about building a relationship with the emotions rather than making them wrong. And that's a
Yeah.
concept for me, it's a constant recommitment. It's so fun. We were just chatting. I had some stuff come up this morning where I was very frustrated and right before this call. And, part of me was telling myself the story of like, I need to show up for like, to record and I need to do XYZ. Why am I frustrated right now? But then I was like, hold on. I didn't again, emotion is just the emotion that's coming up. So we're just gonna ride this wave and lo and behold, now it's inspiration for us to talk about on
Yeah.
this call, right? So like that I share that example to show the power of being able to shift your relationship to things rather than trying to shift the things outside. Because the relationship to that I think that's a huge kind of distinction and like it's really usually about for me, it's been a lot about how do I relate to what's happening in front of me, almost like a canvas, almost like the world is a canvas, and I get to choose how to relate to it
Mhm.
versus trying to force at the outside like it's a dollhouse or something where I can like move the pieces. I think that's a
Um,
difference.
I like that. Yeah, that's a really great perspective, and I think something else I was hearing in that, um, in terms of our how we relate to what we're feeling. so much that I experienced when it came to learning about emotions, gaining more self-awareness, understanding my triggers and that kind of thing. The more inward I went, the more I realized how much shame I had been carrying and how much shame I had been attaching to feeling what society deems as more negative emotions. But they don't have to be negative. They're simply emotions. I would be curious, like, what your perspective on shame is along this journey.
Oh my gosh, shame is a gnarly one, isn't it? Shame
Yeah.
is a gnarly one. I think the thing that really one, I didn't even realize how much shame I held. I think it was very subconscious for me. It was underneath my awareness. So that was the first part, is like remembering that shame is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that shame is not just existent, but often used as a tool, I feel, in today's world to again, this goes back to the relation. Shame is often used as a tool to I will go as far to say a manipulative tool in the worst of
Yeah,
scenarios.
I
And
would
so
say.
I think being aware, I think it's important for a lot of people to become aware of like the shame,
Yeah.
how shame works naturally, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's an emotion just like it's natural. And I think for me, the transformational thing for me with shame was like realizing that, one, how much I shame myself, or how much I internalize shame from outside sources. But two, also that shame perpetuates it more. Like I often, and I say tool for manipulation because I often found myself using it as a tool to try to shift behavior. And that was
Hmm.
the issue, is that I realized that shame actually doesn't shift behavior. It just locks it in further. It makes it harder. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a big turning point, in that, like, the opposite, I wouldn't say the opposite of shame, but what I started have shifted towards using to change behavior is love. If I want to make changes, love is really the most powerful energy that I can use to shift behavior. But what I found what I was actually using was a lot of shame.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That was the key shifter.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can relate so much to that in terms of changing behavior, being able to change mindsets to create positive change in my life. It was like before understanding more about shame and realizing how much of it I'd been carrying most of my life. I had these subconscious messages going on repeat without my awareness of it. I had messages that were telling me, like, it's not okay to let anyone see me cry because that is weakness. Like, never let anybody, don't ever cry in front of everyone. Don't get vulnerable with them. It's not okay to fail. These types of internalized messages that just kept me on this rat race of perfectionism and overachieving. And yeah, I'm wondering if maybe you've seen this a lot.
Yeah. When you bring up like the hustle culture, that's definitely something that's a huge thing that my clients deal with, right? Like central and internalizing that. And a lot of it comes from, taking it one layer deeper than shame. It's this I am not enough.
Yeah.
That's really what sits underneath the shame, is this belief of I am not blank enough. Usually it's more specific. I am not skilled enough. I'm not capable enough. I'm not XYZ enough. Insert
Mhm.
whatever you're internalizing from one other person, right? Like how often do we look outside ourselves and see, oh, she's doing this. It's XYZ reason rather than a skill that I can build. And I think this comes down to internal power, because
Yes.
what shame takes away is choice.
Hmm.
It doesn't take it away. It just forgets it. That's really
Hmm.
what it is. I don't even think it takes it away. It's about a remembering of
Hmm.
what you can choose. That now, for example, with hustle culture, for example, like that is rooted in shame, right? That's like a collective shame. And it comes, like I said, a lot of it comes from a sense of proving through action, through achievement.
Yes.
And really, it's just a call, really, to like feel enough. But here's
Hmm.
the thing, what if you're already enough? What if you just are enough?
Yeah.
From that place, there's a fullness, right? The fulfillment. A lot of people I know try to look for this career Sometimes it's career, sometimes it's something else. But a lot of my clients are looking for the career to fill the space within themselves. And that will never be possible. The career cannot fill the space inside self. That's a huge thing. And I don't even think it took me ages to realize that. I still have to remind myself is that I need to be filled within myself, period, no matter what's happening on the outside. My career is an extension of the I am enough. Basically, that's what I'm talking about, is internalizing the belief of I am enough as is.
Yeah.
Then from that place, you have choice. You see your choices more naturally. I just see my choices. I see my internal power. You know, if something goes haywire at work, it's not a reflection of I'm doing something wrong. It's just a natural thing that's happening. But if I'm in a place of calm, then I feel that I can handle this. I can take this on. I can resolve this. And then from those challenges, that's where you evolve. So that's where I was talking about the gifts evolving, right? Gifts evolve challenges. That's what I really feel like. I found the areas that I'm the most been the historically the most challenged in are where my gifts are.
Oh,
So
yes.
that's another piece we can unravel, but let's
Yeah.
stop there.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh. I know there's so much we can dive into. Ugh, there's just so much. We may have to do a part 2, honestly, of
Yes. Yes, I don't expect this to end at a cliffhanger. I'm like,
I
man, I want
know.
to go now.
Well,
But
I think we can bring it on home because so much of what we've been talking about is really tied to the power of a multi-passionate career path and this idea that we are so much more than just our job, just our career, just one label. And I would really love to leave the audience with like one final juicy nugget of your brilliant wisdom and your advice. So if we are thinking about someone in the audience who, let's say, feels really stuck in their career, really unfulfilled, what kind of advice would you give to them? Especially someone, let's say, who is thinking about maybe transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship to use more of their gifts. Do you have any little nuggets of wisdom you'd like to share?
yeah, I think if I were to tell that person to take maybe 2 or 3 next steps, I think what I would give them is, one, your passions are your purpose, right? So don't ignore your passions. If anything, you know, it can be tempting when we're feeling stuck to just let go of everything. Don't let go of the passions. Even if it's just one passion, 5 minutes a day, this is where you need it most, is when you feel stuck, when you don't feel like doing those. That's the point at which you want to maintain your self-care practices, your hobbies. And again, if what you're doing feels like too much, scale it down, but do it. The point is to do at least, I would say even 5 minutes a day can make a huge difference. That's 30 minutes in a week. So keep that, maintain that routine, maintain your self-care practices, first of all. Second of all, bite-sized pieces, right? So let's break it down. So maybe there's one idea that you're having of like, okay, maybe I'd like this path more. So just with talking to one person who's maybe doing one thing that you might like or that piques your curiosity just a little bit. It doesn't have to be this pressure of this has to be the path. This has to fulfill me. Like that can be a very tall order. Just start with one conversation about something that piques your curiosity and let the breadcrumbs kind of come into place. Use curiosity as a very nice, light tool, something that's like, oh, I'm a little bit like, I'm wondering about that. Just use that as a breadcrumb. If anything, curiosity is a really nice, chill, light tool that I like to offer clients to use because it's not very pressury. It's just something you have questions about and you're looking to explore. So those are the 2 things I would start with, is maintain your self-care practices and passions. And then 2, go have a conversation with someone who's doing something you're at least slightly curious about.
I love that. Yeah, those are very, very practical tips that anyone who's listening could actually go ahead and implement right now, guys, right
Yeah,
now.
you literally do it today. Which is
Yeah.
a great thing. And I would love to just bring that home is like, I think pivoting it doesn't have to be hard. It can be scary, it can be uncomfortable, but that does not mean it has to be hard. I think that's the biggest lesson I'm learning is as we speak is pivoting with ease. And that's really what I help my clients do is see that it's so much easier than your mind is telling you. Because when you're overwhelmed, you're so in your head, it can be so hard to see the easy path out. So that's the last thing I'll offer is change does not have to be hard just because it's uncomfortable. It can actually be quite easeful and fun and playful.
Yeah.
And that's the path I would invite the audience to explore is how could you make it easy and fun and playful for yourself and see what comes about from that.
I love that. And I would also add, I mean, change is a constant. Change is always within our lives. And even if it feels difficult, change is inevitable. It's going to happen one way or another in whatever timing unfolds. So why not make it more easeful, as what you're saying, Anvita, by following the curiosity, following the trail of breadcrumbs, following those activities, those topics of interest that just light you up naturally, and take off the pressure for that to lead anywhere specific.
That's bingo. Anywhere specific. It will lead somewhere. There are possibilities, but there has to be a little bit of a detachment. For all you know, the thing specific in your head that you're attached to might not even be the best thing for you. Usually it's not. I find in my experience that I either get that or better.
Yeah.
And usually better. Usually I go back to my faith, I think, a lot with this. Like God, trusting that God has the best plans in store for me. And maybe I don't really know always what's best for me. And that's okay.
Yeah. That has been a very big lesson for me too along this journey is learning how basically humbling myself. I used to think that I always knew what was best for me and all the plans I made were exactly what was going to happen. But I love the phrase like man plans and God laughs. I like that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's been so true. Man plans and God laughs because the universe can always see what is best and most aligned for you. And sometimes you just have to learn how to release controlling the plan so you can listen to what those curious, intuitive nudges are trying to tell you and lead you. Yeah. So, like I said, we could be talking about this for hours and hours and hours.
That's the beautiful thing about this conversation, isn't it?
It is. We're going to have a part two. It's going to be beautiful. I'm excited.
See you on the other side. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. And Anvita, thank you so much for all your incredible, juicy, juicy nuggets of wisdom. Really, like this has filled me up so much listening to you.
Too.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And to everyone listening and watching out there, thank you so much for joining us today and tuning in. And I will catch you guys next time on the Sacred Style Podcast. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Subscribe, like, and comment. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot to help grow the channel and impact more beautiful souls like you. And remember, keep flowing and growing, my friend. I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.